I have 2 minutes.
That 2-minute warning. Ding. Spencer, we really need to.
Director Torres is going to be joining on Zoom, and then we'll be here. She's running late, so she'll be connecting in just a minute.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Director. We see you. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in person soon.
What's the matter with you?
I have 9:30.
Fantastic. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Western Municipal Water District. This is the regular scheduled meeting for the Board of Directors. Today it is 9:30. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Welcome to everyone in our audience today, and thank you for joining us. We do have full seats in the house. I love it. Thank God we are rolling out of COVID. Now everybody knock on wood. Okay, there it is. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead. Madam Secretary, could you go ahead and please read in our COVID protocols for all of our folks, and we will go ahead and do the roll call following that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning. Pursuant to Western Municipal Water District Resolution 3216, in an effort to protect the public health, prevent the spread of COVID-19, and because state and local officials are recommending measures to promote social distancing, the public may view this board meeting online or virtually via Zoom. Today's meeting is being live streamed at WMWD.com. As stated on the agenda, members of the public who wish to comment on any item within the jurisdiction of the district or any item on the agenda may make comments in person, virtually via Zoom, or by submitting comments on the district's website. Comments received on the district's website before 4:30 p.m. April 19th, 2022 will be made part of the board meeting record. For those participating in the Zoom virtual meeting who wish to provide public comments, please indicate such by using the raise hand feature, and we will call on you individually. You can access the raise hand feature by opening the participant list and clicking the raise hand button at the bottom of the list. For those participating by telephone who wish to provide public comment, you may do so by pressing *6 to unmute yourself. Phone callers can also press *9 to activate the raise hand feature. If there is more than one caller, you will be identified and called on one at a time. Any public comment will be limited to 3 minutes in duration. However, the presiding officer reserves the right to reduce the amount of time you will be allowed to speak to ensure that all members of the public have an opportunity to provide their comment. I will now take roll call for the meeting. Due to the complexity of conducting this meeting by Zoom and telephonically, I will not be taking roll call for staff members or the public at this time. Director Roten.
Here. Good morning.
Good morning. Director Rizvi.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning. Director Gardner.
I am present.
Thank you. Good morning. Director Torres.
I'm here.
Thank you. President Dinstedt.
Good morning. I am present.
Good morning. President Dinstedt, you do have a quorum today.
Thank you very much, and I so look forward to the day that we don't have to read those in anymore because we can save a whole 10 minutes in the meeting by just not doing that. So thank you, everybody, for your due diligence and your patience while we go through all of those necessary procedures. So appreciate it. And since the start of COVID, we have actually had the pleasure of having our employees come and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And this morning we have Lisa coming to the podium to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone could please stand in the room and join us.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Dougherty. I'm a senior accountant in our finance department. I've been with the district for 17 years. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Appreciate you leading us in the pledge. It's one of my favorite things that we have started since we went to the Zoom thing and having our employees do that. We started with recordings, and now we're able to have them come in person. I love it. So thank you so much. At this time, we'll go ahead into public comment. Now is the time for any member of the public wishing to address anything that is not currently posted on our agenda under the jurisdiction of this agency to be able to act upon. Madam Secretary, is there anyone in the room who has indicated they wish to speak under public comment today?
President Dinsta, I have received no request to speak in the room, nor via email or written comment.
Okay. Is there anyone on the Zoom call today who wishes to speak under public comment on any item that is not on our agenda today?
I see no request to speak.
Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on from public comment and move right into the presentations because we have the money people here. I mean, we have the Aqua JPIA folks here.
We
that
have the
are,
people who are thankful that our staff is operating safely.
Absolutely. I love it. I think they walked into the room with a big money bag, right? I love it. Thank you, Andy. We're so appreciative that you're here today.
All right, so with us today is the CEO of Aqua JPIA, Andy Sellis. And Andy will introduce his co-presenters to the board also. But Andy, welcome. Thank you. It's good to see you again.
Thank you, and yeah, I always get invited. I love it. Yes. Yes, so thank you again. My name is Andy Sells with the Aqua Joint Powers Insurance Authority. I have with me today Adrienne Beatty. She is our relatively new employee, about 5 months now, as our Assistant Executive Officer here at the JPI. And Randall Reed, you may recognize him from down the road here. He is with
He's not a familiar
Yeah,
face at all.
He might have been around a little bit, but he sits on our executive committee. So he was elected by our board of directors to serve as our executive committee. And so I report to a board of directors. It's about 400 board members. So they elect an executive committee, and that's really who acts in the same capacity that you guys do. So I first of all, I just wanted to start off by saying thank you for giving us this opportunity here. I don't often have the opportunity here, and that's a good thing, and I'll explain that to you. But we do have the check today, $109,862 here. So congratulations. You know, just to give you a little bit of idea, and certainly to the board, my hat's off. You guys do, you empower them, but really, it's Craig and his staff that really makes this all work out here. And as he said, you know, safety comes first, not only of your employees, but your facilities, how you treat the public. And that all comes together when we do these refund checks. Just to give you a little bit of an idea over the, I have it here someplace. Like COVID was a challenge for all of us in many ways, right? And we at the JPI couldn't really do any more in-person training programs. We couldn't get out to visit districts on a regular basis, but it really didn't stop your staff. We have a large suite of online and virtual training programs. In that period there, that 2-year period, you had over 155 members or take place in training virtually and online. Almost 2,400 courses completed in that 2-year period there. So they were very active, still looking at that, getting their training, you know, ergonomics, office ergonomics, certain amount of field as well, but still moving forward with that, and that says a lot to what they do there. Your staff does a great job of taking advantage of the resources that we have, training. I know you guys work with, I think, Peter Kaczynski over in this area for a while, and now I think it's Jesse. But in addition to that, we have a professional development program that it takes about 40 hours of training, you know, 40, 50 hours of training. We have 3 different programs there. You've got over 4 staff currently enrolled in those programs as well. So hats off to staff, Craig. You guys, you do a good job. The reason why I say it's difficult for me to get out here to bring you refund checks is our programs, the liability and workers' comp, are what we call experience rated, right? So we take your losses and compare them to the average in the pool. And if your losses are better than average, then you get a discount. So your basic premium is multiplied by like 0.8 or 0.9. Same thing in workers' comp. On the flip side, if your losses are greater than average, that factor is 1.1, 1.2. So why is it difficult for me to get here? In your liability program, your rating factor is 0.55.
Yeah.
You, in essence, get a 45% discount on your deposit premium every year in the liability program. So there's not a lot of extra funds when you're already getting a 45% discount. You get a 25% discount in the work comp program. So the nice thing is, Craig and I don't talk a lot about claims because you just don't have a lot of claims, and that's a credit to the staff and everything they do there. So again, thank you. If we have more checks coming, it's because the pool's doing really well. You guys get it right up front, so it's harder to get out here when you have such big discounts to begin with. Got any words here?
Well, yeah, just want to say thank you again. As you know, the JPIA, it's a, we're not an insurance group and we're not an insurance carrier. We're a risk pool. And members like you make the pool operate, So you're good members because it helps us keep the premiums low for the others. And so I want to thank you again. And as Andy said, it's your staff. It's the courses they take and then and the liabilities and with workers' comp. It's being proactive. So thank you again for making the pool solid, I should say, and resilient. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I would like to add something
Absolutely.
informational before the board makes comments.
Go
And
right ahead.
I just want to really thank our staff, and especially our HR team and James for all of his work. They're the drivers of the programs, but the programs wouldn't work if the staff wasn't utilizing them. So that's all our managers, all our supervisors, all the ops technicians, all the people who are sitting in chairs that need ergonomic evaluations. And so, our HR team does a great job of driving the programs, and then the implementation is a real team effort by everyone. So, we're in this. When I first started here, I got some intel from someone that I don't think executive management cares about safety. And so I've been here 8 years, and we care. And we've been driving that message home that absolutely we do. So, it's great to see you. We always like seeing you. It's even better to see you when there's a kind of a profit motive for us to work really hard to do this. So thank you very much. And I'll turn it back over to the board president.
Absolutely, and I think the rest of my colleagues now understand why I was excited to see these guys, because I know what they bring. Because you guys haven't had an opportunity to see this or experience this at this point. So for me, I knew exactly why you were here. I know why you're in the room, and it's really exciting. And you're right. This is absolutely 100% driven by our staff. And this is a testament to their work product, their safety, what it means to the district, and what this means to the customers, right? Because if we have less claims, we keep everybody employed, we keep everybody rolling, we keep the water flowing for our customers, we take care of all of these things that are so important for the well-being of our entire district, right? So I was second I saw you guys, I was like, woohoo. Because I've been here for the big check.
Had the inside scoop.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'll leave it to my colleagues. Anything else you'd like to add?
Just thank you to staff and thank you for appreciating the work that's being done. Thank you.
Just really briefly, so I have just been on this board since the end of August of last year. And through the experience that I've had, I have been so impressed with our staff, but it's even more encouraging to hear what you see and see it manifested in such a tangible way. So thank you to our staff. Thank you to you all for being here today and bringing us that. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So do you got an observation? You've got 5 months with us. What do you We got one new comment here.
Yeah, so my tenure is not much longer than yours. I started in November with the JPIA, and I am new to water districts, so I'm learning and absorbing all of what water districts do, which is quite fascinating, by the way. But I have worked with risk pooling for about 18 years now, mostly with cities, large cities in Northern California, Southern California, in the state of Washington. I've worked with housing authorities, I've worked with school districts, and I got to tell you, JPIA and its members cannot be compared to other pools. They rise above the level of a lot of other pools. And to give you some context, there are about 100 risk pools in the entire country. There are, 200 in the entire country. There are 100 in California alone. There are a lot, and there's a lot of competition, but there are none that are quite like JPIA. It is the only risk pool in the state that is specific to water districts. And because of that sort of, sense of community we have with our members and those long-term relationships, we really can have a real richness and depth to our risk management program. We have 52 employees at the JPIA. 9 of them are risk advisors. So 20% of our staff, their sole job is to be out in the field with you as members and helping you keep your employees safe, keep the water flowing to your customers, keep your infrastructure sound, and avoid litigation. Craig and his staff do a really great job of that. I've been very impressed since I've been here with just how seriously water districts take their charter, their delivery of resources to their constituents, and the safety of their employees and their facilities. So really to be applauded.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the world of water buffaloes. So, we are a different breed.
Yeah, for education, I got her to read Cadillac Desert, so that, surprised, there came a few questions in after that.
Absolutely. Well,
So-
any other comments?
Well, yeah, just a couple real quickly. First, thanks and compliments to Craig for his leadership and his leadership team, management team for achieving this. But I also want to compliment the JPIA for the way you run the pool, the programs that you offer that enable us to do as well as we do. Because without those programs, we couldn't achieve as much as we have achieved. So I want to thank you guys as well.
Thanks. Staff does a good job.
Yes, I just want to say thank you for being here, for making your way out here, and of course, to our staff and HR team and the partnership we have with you all for making this happen. And I hope we see something in the future, more and bigger checks in the future.
Come back next month, thanks.
Absolutely. Are we wanting pictures, or what are we wanting to do?
We brought the giant check. Of course, we need a picture with the giant check.
I'm seeing
Come
the
on.
camera guy in the back of the room, so I'm thinking that's what we want to do. So we're going to do a picture.
I want to also invite Stu Dillingham to be in the picture too. Stu is the risk manager here.
Absolutely.
That's really important. Sorry, I forgot about that. But all this stuff goes through Stu, and he juggles our risk. So let's do the photo op. If the board
Absolutely.
will step
Okay.
down and do that, would be great.
Okay, great.
Can I be in front?
You're supposed to be taking charge of the new.
Don't like that.
We need a couple more people on this side.
Yeah.
Couple more on that side.
Another one over there?
Come right on that side would be great. We got a little layer on this side. It'll help out a lot.
Are you better now?
One, perfect.
Okay, you're only supposed to get my skinny side.
Okay. That's the only side there is. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1 second. Okay, 1,
1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you guys so much.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here.
But I'm gonna get an earful. Thank you.
Oh, Stu gets the check. Stu, you get the check. Are you papering your walls with this? That's the important one there, right? That's the important there. Well, wonderful day, wonderful way to start our day off, so thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next recognition that we have. Mr. Miller, this is also a very exciting one for one of our staff members and a really, really big award.
Yeah, this is, we've never had this one before.
No.
So this is
In
this
all
is really
the years
fun.
I've sat here, I've not seen
Yeah,
this
no,
award,
I've-
so I know that
yeah,
this is a big deal.
No,
I know this is.
This is, I call it fun because our mechanical services staff is super creative and has been doing great things for us for a long time. But to get outside recognition for it is new. So I'm going to invite Jason Behringer up. Jason is the manager of this group and does a great job in leading this group. But we, over the last few years, have been really successful in, maybe lucky, in recruiting and have brought some really skilled people onto our team. And so Jason's going to talk about recognition for one of our team members.
All right. Good morning, directors. This morning, I'd like to introduce Don Gaynor. He's a member of our mechanical services team. Don came to Western in 2018 and has made quite an impact thus far. He came to us with a strong mechanical background and 20-plus years of work as a machinist. Sorry, I'm a little nervous at public speaking, so I have my script. My apologies.
You are all good. Deep breath, relax. You're just talking to a bunch of friends here. That's all you're doing.
His knowledge and experience have made a significant impact on mechanical services and the district as a whole. This year at the Employee Recognition event, Don received several awards, including the PACE, the SAFE, and the BEST award. To add to that collection of achievements, he has received the California Water Environment Association, or CWEA, Mechanical Technologist of the Year Gold Award. The CWEA is an organization that educates water professionals and focuses on the protection of public health and the environment. The CWEA oversees a certification program for water treatment, collection systems maintenance, electrical and instrumentation, mechanical technologists, environmental compliance, and laboratory analysis. Don was nominated by his peers and was entered into a pool of candidates from all over California. He was interviewed by a committee and ultimately received the award from his local section, the Santa Ana River Basin, or SARBS. This is a great honor within the water and wastewater industry and a fantastic personal achievement. I wanted to take this opportunity to congratulate Don for his receipt of the Mechanical Technologist of the Year Award, and I'm happy to take any questions that you guys may have. And Don is ready for his photo op.
That's right.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear from you, Don. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Well, like Jason said, I came in December of 2018. Actually, I worked quite a few years to get into the water district, and I failed multiple times. I went through a bunch of courses and what have you. Meantime, owned my own company while I was doing all this. Finally got my foot in the door, and I think everybody, even Tim, was like, why would you want to do that? And it was the type of business that I had was a roller coaster. So I wanted something more stable, and I'm not getting any younger, so I want to be able to come to an establishment like this and be able to still perform and do my job duties. So here I am. So as I promised, I'm here trying to do my best, and that's put my best foot forward, and here I am.
Well, I think you've done an outstanding job, and my question to you is, my friend, with all this success, have you went out and bought a lottery ticket? Because I'm thinking you're on fire right now.
No, I just want to thank everybody for giving me that opportunity to be here, so thank you very much.
Thank you, and what an outstanding accomplishment. Like I said, for all the years that I've sat here, and I've sat on this board for nearly 16 years, this has not been something that's come and hit this boardroom to this point. This is a huge deal, and we couldn't be prouder of you. Comments from my colleagues?
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We're both so quick. Just congratulations. This is wonderful. I want to thank you for representing the district well. Clearly you have, and not just the district, but your colleagues have recognized your great work. So thank you. Thank you to your management for making sure that you're recognized here. And of course, the executive management. This type of stuff is great. We don't see it, you don't see it very often in public life. So I hope that this is encouraging to your coworkers, and know that if you put in the effort, you'll end up here being recognized.
I just wanted to congratulate you also, and I think we all recognize the extra work that you put in, first to get here, and then to get to where you are now. So congratulations, and it really does reflect well on the district, and we appreciate that.
Congratulations. Your story is very inspiring that you kept on trying, and this inspires us all. So thank you for what you've done and you'll keep on doing, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to say thank you and congratulations, and I'm really thinking that your plaque should be as big as that check was.
Right?
I do want to say, good for you for continuing to try. I applied at Western so many times, and I had to run for office to get here. So, so good for you.
So, and the plaque, I'm thinking, God, it should be a little bit more, I don't know, mechanical.
Right?
Right? You need to work on that as a thing. But I think for everything that you've done, a round of applause, folks. This is a big deal. This is a big deal.
I do want to say one more thing. I did have the support from management, and anytime I did have issues, I had a very strong backing with management and getting things done. So that actually helped me succeed. So without them, I wouldn't have been able to do the things I did.
Fantastic. Well, we're ready for the photo op, right? So we get to play music chairs again one more time, and this is good stuff.
Oh, he'll fabricate one. You wait till you see what he makes up.
Okay. Well, what a fantastic way to start our day off today with all these recognitions, these awards, and knowing that we've got a bang-up team here on staff to make this district run as smoothly as it does. So, Craig, thank you.
Well, I appreciate the recognition, but clearly, you know, the fun thing as a manager of having people like Jason and Dawn on the team is Dawn clearly brings a huge skill set that you don't see coming to the water industry. And he jumped right in and he shares the skills with everyone on his team. So you hear that this was peer nominated and peer originated. It's because he's developed this great camaraderie in the team where they share all of their knowledge, and bringing someone like that in, he's an all-star, but he's bringing everyone up to the same all-star level. So it is really neat and fun to watch.
No, that it is. It's wonderful and just a great way to start our day. So, okay, let's get down to the business here, folks. We've got consent calendar to look at. Looking to any of my colleagues, is there any item you wish to pull off of the consent calendar? Okay, don't do it. I heard her button going off. Madam Secretary, is there a member of the public wishes to comment on any consent calendar item?
I see no requests to speak, and I've received no written requests.
Okay, now we'll bring it back to the dais for a motion.
A motion to move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion from Director Risby to approve and a second from Director Gardner. Madam Secretary, can we go ahead and call for the vote?
Yes, thank you. Director Roten,
Yes.
Director Risby,
Yes.
Director Gardner,
Aye.
Director Torres,
Yes.
Director Denstedt.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on. Any items to be added to our agenda today, Mr. Miller?
No, not today.
Good morning, Legal Counsel. Anything to be added to our agenda today?
Good morning. No, Madam President.
Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on to our action agenda today. And we'll start off with item 8A, consider a change order.
Okay.
Mr. Miller.
Yeah, item 8A is a change order general pump company for well rehabilitation work. This did not go through committee. This is a little unusual for us. The urgency of this, I decided to bring it straight to the board. So Derek will explain why we're doing this and how we're doing this, and the fact that it is absolutely permissible under code sections, so or the bidding guidelines. So, Derek?
Sure, thank you. So, good morning, Board. This item is to address a decreased well capacity at the new clay well. We're bringing this item directly to the board because we want to have the full capacity of the well in time for the summer high demand period and to reduce reliance on imported water. Over time, all wells will experience a decline in production rate. And this decline is due to the clogging of the well screens. You might recall I brought an item like this just recently for the Arlington well rehab. The solution for doing a rehab essentially is you perform brushing, bailing, physical cleaning of the screens. They do chemical treatment and other procedures to remove deposits. And General Pump Company has been performing this work over at the Arlington desalter wells. They're just finishing up well number 4. We are now asking them to perform this work at the new clay well as a change order to their existing contract. Now, as an aside, as far as how change orders work in this context, normally what we'd like to do is we would like to bring new items up for normal bidding, put the specs out onto the street, we get the bids. And in this case, what we have is essentially the same scope of work. And oftentimes, districts will hire a contractor for doing multiple wells, and they'll just skip along and go to each well one after another. CDA is an example of this. In this case, it turns out that General Pump Company is essentially forming that function. You might recall they keep winning all the contracts, and they're doing very good work for us. In fact, when I went to go look at this, I said, well, how do they do on change orders? And well, to date, on the most recent one, there's been one change order that's a cost increase, but that cost increase was $2,175. The original contract was $304,000, so that's less than 1%. And it was completely justified, the change that they're asking for. So they're doing very good work for us, and since it is exact same scope and they're working within our district, we feel that it is appropriate to give a change order to them for performing this new scope. Now, the change order amount is $179,650. Staff have compared this amount to past similar work and found it to be cost competitive given the proposed scope. What they're going to do is they're going to clean out above a certain depth where we have a packer in new clay, and they'll clean that in above, so it's a little bit less expensive than the well that they're working on now. But we've looked at the ratios and what the work they're doing, and it's a very competitive quote. In order to perform this work, staff is also asking for an amendment to the capital improvement and facilities plan to increase it by $250,000. This will be charged under Fund 235, which has sufficient reserves to fund this project. I now open this for any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Is the contractor here or online? Do we have any? Yes, no? Do they want?
I don't know if I got them on here for this one.
Okay. All right, just asking the question. Madam Secretary, is there any member of the public who wishes to make a comment on this item?
I see no request to speak.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and bring it up to the dais for questions. Anyone?
I just want to say this looks great. Move to approve.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, I've got a couple as well. Go ahead, Laura.
In reading their letter, this all sounds great. This is just more of a clarification than anything. At the end of their letter, it says, this proposal doesn't include any inspection or repairs to the production pump equipment, that they can perform a tear down should we request it. And I was just curious if that was something that we would be looking for with this project.
At this point, no. We have done some work on the new clay, the actual clipping at the top. We've done work on that prior, and we have no reason to believe that they have to do any tear down. I think that's just understanding that they've come across that at the Arlington wells. They've had to do some work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is that your only question? Okay, Director Gardner?
I am guessing that we may see some level of savings because this vendor is already mobilized in the area. And so it may save some staging costs, which is always a plus. But given the issues we've had at Northwell with discoloration of the water due to mineralization, do we anticipate any possible, similar impacts
Different well.
here? Is it, I'm not sure how close the two wells are in proximity, and if the basic water quality is significantly different.
Yeah, so we've looked at that, and we actually turned off both of the wells, and we looked very much at the profile of what was the chemical profile along the well, both wells. We aren't finding the manganese, it's non-detect, in the new clay well.
Oh, good.
And so we wouldn't see that same thing. We do look at other chemical constituents. We monitor all of them as we're required to, and we have done that. The nuclear well is actually on right now, and we've done our monitoring, and we haven't seen any problems with regards to our MCLs.
Great.
So we're doing good.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay.
And if we don't have a second, I will second.
Okay, thank you. I do have one quick question, Derek. For the new clay well for the 179,650, but you're asking for a budget amendment to 250. So is that to cover contingency or other things?
Oh, I see. So, yes, so basically what we're doing is we're putting in for some staff time for administering the contract, as well as operations that have to make the well available to them. And we expect when they take the well equipment on, there's some involvement by our operations staff.
Okay. And out of that cost account, the money is available for the 250?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure that those points were very clear as we move forward. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I have a motion by Director Torres and a second by Director Gardner. We'll go ahead and call for the vote. Okay. And that is a motion to approve.
Thank you. Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Rizvi?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
Aye.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Dinstedt?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, directors.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to 8B.
All right, Derek's not going to go very far. He's coming right back. Item 8B is a design services contract for Michael Baker International. You know as a board that we have been working really hard on our capital improvement program and our pipeline replacement program. We've made great strides in attacking our aging infrastructure, and so this is all part of that program, and so Derek will give you the background on what we're asking for today.
Great, thank you. So just as Craig said, we have an active pipeline replacement program, and we have set aside funding for replacement of those pipelines, and we're trying to replace them at a rapid clip. In order to do that, we're basically picking out the pipelines that we believe have are ready to go, shouldn't have that many problems during the replacement. They're in the easier areas, and so we've essentially executed on those so far. We've done the one across the base, Graper. We've done the one just outside the base within the Green Acres area, which is Gilly Adams Decay, which we're just finishing up now. And now we're actually actively going into the Lake Hills area for replacing pipeline. So what we'd like to do is, while this pipe is being replaced, we'd like to start doing the designs on the next tranches of pipeline replacement. So this item is to amend an existing contract with Michael Baker International for the design of the pipeline replacement projects to come. Michael Baker was awarded this design contract in April of 2021, and they've completed the design of all of those projects that I mentioned before, and they're going very well. They are currently completing the design on the next group of pipelines, just as I'd said, and we're hoping to have the full 4 years fully up and designed. So in order to keep up with this momentum and achieve the goal of replacing $5 million worth of aged pipelines per year, staff is requesting to amend the Michael Baker agreement so they can have all of the design completed for those for that next tranche of pipelines. The request is to increase the board-adopted fiscal year 2021-22 capital improvement facilities plan by $1.6 million, from $5 million to $6.6 million under Riverside Potable Water Asset Replacement Fund 205 for the Linear Asset Management Program, and to number 2, increase the budget by $1.6 million from $700,000 to $2.3 million for the pipeline replacement project under Riverside Potable Water Asset Replacement Fund 205. And number 3 is to authorize the general manager to execute an amendment for a professional services contract and to increase the purchase order with Michael Baker International by $1,231,041 for an amount not to exceed $1,831,041 for engineering design services and engineering support services during construction for the pipeline replacement program. I do want to note that we have in the audience, present here physically, in the boardroom, Malmo Salvovic, and And he is the vice president of Michael Baker, which indicates their great support for us and this project.
Great. Sir, would you like to say anything to the board this morning? And welcome to our boardroom.
Yeah, certainly. Do I come closer?
That way everybody can hear you online too that's
Okay.
watching the meeting.
Well, thank you very much for giving us opportunity to help you in this challenging project. As Derek announced, I'm department head of water resources out of Temecula office, so we are local. For the past year, we worked successfully alongside your team. I believe there is synergy, and I believe we developed a relationship that is just great, and we are looking forward serving you in the future. So, as Derek mentioned, we completed successfully 4 projects that are under construction, and we are very well in advanced stage of finalizing 6 projects. There are 9 more to go, so we assigned our A team to this effort, and I personally have my hands in everything that is happening here. So by all means, if you have any questions, if you have some technical questions, I'm not going to spend more time, but I'm willing to respond to your questions. Again, thank you very much for confidence that you gave Michael Baker.
Thank you very much. We certainly appreciate you being here today. I'm going to go ahead and go to the online portion and see if there's any member online who has any comments in regard to this item.
I see no request to speak.
Okay. Bring it back up to the dais to my colleagues. Any questions?
Great project. Thank you for being here. Move to approve.
Okay.
I would just add that it's an important project for us to get done, and it's a proven contractor, and it's hard to beat that combination, so I'll be happy to second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Legal counsel, is this all one motion for these 3 items, or do we need to take them independent of each other?
You can take it in one motion.
Thank you very much for the clarification. Sir, we look forward to continuing our partnership as we move forward with these projects. We'll get ready to take the vote here because it looks like you are off the hook and have no questions for you today.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Madam Secretary, are you ready for the vote? I do have a motion to approve and a second. Go ahead and call for the vote.
Thank you. Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Rizvi?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
Aye.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Dinstedt?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, sir. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Director.
And thank you so much for being here in person. Appreciate that.
Looking forward to do some more.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the reports section of our agenda today. First on our list today is General Counsel.
Yes, good morning, Madam President and board members. On the dais, we've left for you a memo that our office has prepared. As you know, 2022 is an election season, and election season is currently upon us. So we've provided this memo to you in your capacity as board members. As you know, our office doesn't provide legal advice to candidates, but we do provide legal advice to our board members, and this memo really applies to both board members and district employees. And so it's a few pages, so I don't expect you to have read it today, but I'll kind of highlight some of the kind of common themes that you'll see in the memo, as well as a couple of examples that we see occurring on a regular basis, sometimes at different public agencies. Some of the general themes include making sure that public resources are not used for campaign purposes, and really making sure that public resources aren't used for personal purposes as well, but one of those personal purposes could include campaign purposes. So that could involve using district property or district staff for personal purposes or for campaign purposes. The other theme you'll see in the memo is not misleading voters into thinking that the district is taking a position in elections. In our democracy, we like to make sure that government isn't involved in trying to influence our voters in terms of how they're voting. So those are the 2 general themes that you'll see in the memo. Some of the common situations that we see popping up at different agencies are, again, the use of district property for personal uses, employees engaging in campaign activities during work hours, whether that's using, district computers or district cell phones, that's not allowed under state law. Another example is campaign signs or literature. Those really shouldn't be used or distributed or posted at district property, whether that's admin here or out in the field. Property that's owned by the district really should be neutral and not used for campaign purposes. Something that we see often is candidates using the district logo in their campaign material. And again, the idea is we don't want to mislead the voters into thinking that the district is endorsing a particular candidate, whether an incumbent or not. Likewise, the passive use of district property, so pictures of the district or things that would lead the voters to believe that an incumbent is being endorsed by the district, or that the district is taking a position on an incumbent, that would be inappropriate. And then finally, soliciting district employees for campaign contributions or campaign support, that is not allowed under state law. There is an exemption if a distribution is made to a large segment of the population, for instance, the entire voter roll, but select or targeted solicitations of district employees is appropriate. So those are some of the more common things that we see. And again, once you've had a chance to review the memo, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on an individual basis, and I'd be happy to clarify anything or answer any questions.
I do have just a quick question. I was struck by the level of detail on one of these. 5D, I guess. The like a campaign Facebook page. I understand that we are not to ask district employees, but very rarely do employees have employee Facebook pages. So that's where I'm kind of if an employee has a personal Facebook page and gets some type of a request to accept or like or something a page, how does that not fall into the general, like the exemption of a general list or block, or and then of course are the words "to like a campaign Facebook page" in code 3204? That's oddly specific.
So that's a good question. This code section doesn't really deal with modern technology such as social media. And so those facts are really to kind of bring this statute home and kind of make it real in kind of a modern setting. So no, Facebook is not referenced in Government Code Section 3204. It's really just more of a modern example of what 3204 deals with. And 3204 doesn't try to distinguish between district employees as district employees versus a district employee out in their personal life. So notwithstanding the fact that a district employee may have a personal Facebook page, it would be inappropriate to solicit them for campaign support on that personal Facebook page, just as much as it would be inappropriate to go to their door knowing that they're a district employee and asking them to support a candidate. That said, if it were sent out as a broad request, the exception under 3204 is if it's sent out to a broad number of the public, then that wouldn't be prohibited under that government code section.
Okay, and the only reason I ask, I'm assuming on this dais, I'm probably the only one who understands social media at that level. That's generally the case. It is a broad invitation. It's not generally individual, but when I see it, I'm also thinking if it is to an individual, it's usually to a private account. But it is generally, that's why I was like, that's very specific and something that I felt would fall into that broader list or exemption, because those invitations don't get sent out personally, they get sent out to a bigger list. So I found it weird there, but if it sounds like that was more of an interpretation from us than it was the actual law. So I think we want to update based on actual technology, and actual technology doesn't realistically, that wouldn't actually apply. Only because I understand how social media actually works, and you wouldn't send that individually, you would send that by a
Probably not.
broad group. Yeah, okay, that's just my question, because I thought that was oddly specific. I don't know why we chose that example, but I wanted to get clarification.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is that the only update that you had, legal counsel?
Yes, Madam President.
Thank you very much. Moving on to general manager and staff reports. Mr. Miller.
I've got several, but let's start with Ryan and do the water supply updates. So Ryan's got a PowerPoint he's going to share with you. Ryan?
Morning, Ryan.
Good morning, directors. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good Easter holiday. I'm full of good news this morning. Most of this you probably already are aware of, so we'll go through it quickly. But water supply update. Emergency statewide status is still in effect, as we all know. I mentioned this at EOWR a couple weeks ago, but the governor issued an executive order N-7-22, which we are currently in compliance with. There's a big ticket item in there that may affect us. They asked, the governor asked DWR to come up by March 25th, this potential non-functional turf restriction. And so if that's the case, that will be a game changer for, I think, everybody across the state. But basically, that means no outdoor irrigation for commercial, industrial, and institutional customers. So working with Sarah, as you could imagine, it's going to be a huge messaging feat that we're going to have to go through, assuming DWR actually pulls the trigger on that one. So that's a big ticket item, and we'll keep track of it. State Water Project is still at 5%. There's even a chance it might go down to 0. Fingers crossed it doesn't. We know we had a storm last week, but nothing's changed at this point. And then you've heard us talk about this human health and safety deliveries. This is something that's been around for a long time, but never really been implemented. Again, this is basically the state saying we're in such a dire situation that we're only going to deliver through the State Water Project enough water for you to use indoors. 55 gallons per day per person is kind of what we're talking about. That's kind of the standard that's out there in terms of usage indoors. So we'll see if that actually happens. I've got a slide to give a little more detail here. Just real quick, locally, Seven Oaks Dam and Prado Dam, you can see there 977 acre feet and 162 acre feet. Honestly, not a lot of water for the size of those dams, so yeah, basically 0. So no surprise there, but just want to keep you informed. Same thing on precipitation. Within our watershed, as of today, we're still below 9 inches. Average is 12 inches, so same thing across the state. We're still tracking below average. So I didn't steal these slides, President Denstead, but I borrowed these slides. Just teasing. So I got a few Metropolitan slides to give us a bigger picture in what they're proposing. So this is probably the only positive slide in the whole presentation. 91% of snowpack on the Colorado River is pretty darn good, given the recent years. As you can see there, the disparity is with runoff, mostly due to climate change and higher temperatures, right? No surprise there. But it's good news for Metropolitan and Southern California that they have a solid supply on the Colorado side, because Northern California is looking pretty poor right now, as I mentioned. Down to 61% on Northern Sierra snowpack, and you can see the dramatic decline since December. Basically no rain, no snowpack, runoff very low, and this is why we're at a 5% allocation and potentially going lower. So we'll continue to track it, and fingers crossed it rains. So I thought I'd throw this one in there. We were kind of joking in the water industry that they just gathered some snow and just put it there, just for the photo. But this is just obviously a visual example of how dire it really is up there. And so there's not a whole lot of snowpack or runoff, but just wanted to share. This was on April 1st. So there's a lot on this graph, so let me walk through it. So this is Metropolitan's demand supply chart that shows their estimated demand and where the supplies are coming from and where the gap is. So it's kind of hard with the boxes. I couldn't get rid of the boxes because I borrowed the slide from Metropolitan. So on the left-hand side is acre feet. So it goes up to basically 2.0 million acre feet. And that top line is 1.85-ish million acre feet of total demands. That's for everything across Metropolitan, including transfers, exchanges, all their obligations. So that's kind of the limit that they're looking at. The blue bar is coming from the Colorado River. A couple months ago, it was at 1 million acre feet. So we've dropped a little bit down to 867, as you can see here. And obviously, the biggest concern is the green bar, State Water Project, just 100,000 acre feet. Fingers crossed, if we're lucky, we get that. Fortunately, Met and all of us have invested in storage over the years, and that, I guess it's kind of orange color in between the 653,000 acre feet, what they call a wisdom plan, water supply demand management plan. There's a ton of water that they can pull from storage, but it's still not going to be enough to cover the full amount of demand that they have. And so that's that red bar at the very top, the 217,000 acre feet. That's the gap that we're talking about. So let me jump to the next slide here. So what are they going to do? So they have a water supply allocation plan that was adopted, I think, in 2008, about 10, 15 years ago, and they've used that several times in recent droughts. My impression is that they don't think that that's adequate enough, and they are proposing some different changes on how to manage through this drought. So this is a picture of what they call State Water Project dependent areas. It's kind of hard to see on the map, but everything in blue are areas, regions that only gets water through Metropolitan from the State Water Project. Metropolitan has a great system where they can move Colorado River water and State Water Project water around. However, they can't get Colorado River water to these areas that you see in the blue there.
The map on top, right?
Correct.
Okay, because they made the blue all the way down.
I know, it's a little funky, but so
Gotta
basically.
work on GIS out there.
I know, right? So basically, we're talking like. Yeah. So basically, we're talking about Ventura, LA, and portions of San Bernardino County that literally cannot get Colorado River water to them because the plumbing doesn't work that way. So Metropolitan is proposing, and on next week, I believe, April 26th, they're going to have a special board meeting to talk about some of the options that they have on the table. And President Dempstead sat through a few long meetings last week. It's very controversial because it's very focused on State Water Project dependent areas. I will note, and it's hard to see on the map here, but a little portion of Western is included in there. And that was because we were, and we still are, working with Rubidoux Community Services District to get them access to imported water. Physically, it would be State Water Project water for Rubidoux. So that's why there's a little bit of Western in there. The good news is, thanks to Craig and Joe Mawad over the GM over at Eastern, we are not classified, Western is not classified as a State Water Project dependent area in general. So you'll see, I got a couple examples of what they're proposing. It's a pretty big deal if you're one of these project areas. So this is their monthly demand supply slide. The blue is water that they have access to currently. The, I guess, white color is the human health and safety supply that they think they're going to get from the state. And then what's in red is the gap. And that's where their proposal to reduce State Water Project dependent areas and agencies, customers, water supply comes into play. So they're literally talking about mandatory conservation for those dependent areas. So again, right now, Western's in a good spot. it could change in the near future. We'll see how it goes. You can imagine if you're one of those agencies, Western's over there, not having to make any cuts, direct cuts, that somebody might speak up and change their mind a little bit. So it's the first time the region's ever had to go through this, so pretty big deal. So where do we go from here? Obviously, we're going to continue to track hydrology. As I mentioned, under the executive order, we're still in compliance and in stage 2 of our contingency plan. As I mentioned, working with Sarah, we're going to have to do a whole lot of ramp up on messaging to get the message across correctly, which may be very difficult because everybody's going to be in their own little box. So we'll have to try and coordinate as best we can with Met and our neighboring agencies. And then lastly, if the state does go to this non-functional turf change, where CII customers are not allowed to water outdoors, that would be a modification to our contingency plan that we would have to come back to the board and get approval for. Just like almost all the agencies across the state. It's a little bit different, it's new. So May 25th is when the state will consider that, and we'll see where we go from there. Happy to take any questions. Like I said, full of good news.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start? I mean, it's like there's a million questions.
Yeah, you just made our board meeting just kind of take a turn. Yeah, thanks, Ryan.
I tried not to come into the office today, but my boss, I had to. So
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, Ryan, you're going to do the presentation.
Yeah.
Ryan's subtly hitting on some big policy issues. So, this board and our agency based our efforts on conservation with our customers on a certain philosophy based on budget-based rates. And, if we were choosing Western up at Metropolitan, we would say, well, don't mandate, for example, 1 day a week outdoor irrigation. Tell us how much volume of water you want to save, and we'll go to our customers and say, use your budget-based rates, and you decide, customer, if you want to save indoors or save outdoors and how you're going to do it. So this does create a little bit of challenge for us because they could mandate something that's not part of our drought contingency plan. And so we might, as Ryan said, we might have to come back and adjust our drought contingency plan because we don't necessarily have a mandate like that in our plan. Right. So a lot more to come. Sometimes I get frustrated because, we feel like we've put more sophisticated tools in to address this, and, other agencies don't have it. So sometimes it kind of hurts us. But, the bottom line is the public doesn't understand how challenging this drought is. We got to help them understand it better. There's a frustrating stat that the governor called for 15% voluntary cutbacks. In February, our customers were 10% increase. So not a 15% decrease, we had a 15% increase compared to the prior year. And in March, that went up to 15%, right? So we're literally 30% off from what the governor requested. There will be consequences of that, and Governor Brown, in the last drought, asked for a 25% voluntary conservation effort by the entire state. He gave it a year. No one did it, and then he came back with the mandatory 25% cutbacks. So, I think that's the path we're heading down again. We'll see. We're mid-path, but if history's a predictor of the future, this is where we're going. So, a lot going on up at Met, and it's going to be an interesting month, and it may drive us coming back here to adjust what we do. But we're certainly going to be, and Sarah and I have been working on this for months, and we actually started back in the summer, upping the campaign because we could see this coming, and we're saving certain outreach messages for when we actually get mandatory cutbacks because we want it to be impactful at the right time. So we're trying to figure out the best strategy of when to do that. I'm stealing Sarah's thunder. She should be giving this whole talk. But so we're on it. We're active. We just have to keep pushing hard.
Real quick question, Ryan. So when we go to HHS water only, the new connection what we are trying to do with Harupa, do they go to that as well, or we do not give them connect? How does that work?
Great question. So if the agreement gets approved eventually, unfortunately, the Metropolitan Board got a little distracted last week with this state water project dependent. So the Met Board didn't actually approve that agreement that we've already approved and everybody else has approved. But the answer to your question is, yeah, if Rubidoux is a state water project dependent customer, they would follow all the same rules that all these other agencies are going to have to follow.
The caveat on that, because nothing's simple, is that's why the blue bled down into the Rubidoux service area. Of course, staff looked at it and said, that's not Rubidoux service area. Why is that line the way that line is?
Yeah.
Director Torres commented on their other map, but we don't think that map's right either. So Ryan is working with Met on that. But Rubidoux has to build a pipeline to make that connection to access state water project water. So without the agreement, they're not going to build that pipeline. So they won't be held to the same standards. And we'll make that argument with them to Met, because they're not taking state water project water, so that wouldn't apply to them.
Okay.
But the reality is the mandate might not care. There might be a mandate by the governor that trumps all of this.
Oh.
So, and that's what happened with Governor Brown is, he came back with, or Met had an allocation in place that was a lower allocation. Governor Brown came in and said 25%, which Met was only, was it a 7%?
It's like 8.
It depended on.
It was 15, but the way the credits worked, it dropped it lower than that. So the governor, basically trumped Metropolitan's allocation. So that could all play out all over again. So we're just giving you a warning because, you need to be educated on this, because I would think you'll be getting questions out in the public. So we want to give you some data points so that, you can answer those questions and point them in the right direction.
Okay.
I have a comment.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Ryan, I've got a question on Colorado River system. The snowpack in the upper basin is looking not too bad.
Yes.
My concern is how much of that, when it becomes runoff, is actually going to be usable water. Lake Powell is at historic low levels. I believe they're not running the hydro generators because the water's not at a high enough level to do that. Lake Mead is at scary low levels. There is some risk that they'll lose hydro generation there. I don't know how much of that runoff is going to have to stay in the system, and how much is actually going to be deliverable to customers. I noticed that Met has cut back, 130,000 acre feet from what they had just recently said was available from Colorado River. They have some, at least paper water in storage in Lake Mead.
Yeah.
Big numbers, lots of acre feet. I don't know if they can take it, though. That's a concern, and I don't understand that system well enough to have a real feel for how much Colorado River water is actually likely to be deliverable to California in the coming year, and worse next year if there's more drought next year. And we have state water project water, but Diamond Valley Lake has got a goodly amount of storage in it now, but we are in no position to replenish that storage as we draw it down to serve our customers. And that's the long-range plan that Craig is trying to work on. How do we get the state to provide more infrastructure so that we can, when we have wet years, capture and store more of that water? But we just approved a basin management plan for San Bernardino Basin that recognizes that the users did not meet their replenishment requirement. And I think there's going to be more of that.
Yeah.
And we just have to be aware of that. It's not just what happens today. If things don't turn around, we're in bigger trouble tomorrow because we're going to be drawing on supplies that we may not be able to replenish.
Yep.
That's the real policy question to me. We'll get through this year. It may be uncomfortable, but we'll get through. But if next year is dry and the year after that is dry, then what?
Yeah.
Then we're really in trouble, and we will have eaten up our storage.
Yeah, my crystal ball is just as good as yours, right? Like I said, fingers crossed it rains. In terms of availability, in terms of getting water, it's unprecedented times right now in the Colorado too, right? They're in the first time ever in a shortage period, and they have their conservation contingency plan that may limit what Metropolitan can access. And that could become a big deal for Diamond Valley Lake, like you just said, which would be a direct impact to Western in particular. But I totally agree with everything you said.
So do you remember what their, Ryan, what their storage account is? I'm
The
blanking on the
ICS?
name. ICS, thank you.
Yep.
This intentionally created storage. So Metropolitan in 2017, when it was wet and everything was filling up, they turned off the faucet to Colorado River water and didn't take their allocated amount of water, which built it into a storage account that carries forward. So that's called the ICS. Are they at 1 million acre feet?
Yeah, it's over 1 million.
So Director Gardner, you ask a really hard question to answer because they've got their rights that are moving through the aqueduct. They call it an 8-pump flow, so they're taking the full amount of water physically that they can move. Those are what their annual rights are. They still have 1 million acre feet in Lake Mead. The difficult question is, now that we're in shortage, Metropolitan had to work really hard to get agreements with the basin states to still take that water out of storage if they have to, the 1 million acre feet. But remember, that's artificially propping up the elevations in Lake Mead so it doesn't get to the next shortage level.
Yeah.
So people are nervous about that because they don't want to get, so Metropolitan is playing this great teamwork role for the basin states to help keep us from getting to the next shortage level. But what do you do with that 1 million acre feet at the next storage level? We all have our fingers crossed that Met will be able to keep taking a full aqueduct, and that's what's getting us through the drought on the state system. So it's very complicated, and you've honed in on a really important figure that Metropolitan, I guarantee you, is working on behind the scenes with the basin states.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. And another question that I don't know the answer to, and I don't know if we know the answer to it. There are rights to electrical generation from particularly Hoover Dam because it's older. And I don't know if rights to water trump rights to electricity or the other way around. But I think somebody here needs to understand that. Because if water agencies are thinking we can take water below the level where you can make electricity, and there is a priority right to the electricity that prevents us from doing that, we need to know that.
Yeah. I don't know the answer either, but we'll look into it.
Yeah, I know a little bit about the history of Hoover, and there are rights for municipalities. Even Southern California Edison has a right to Hoover Power, and it goes back to when the dam was built. And I just don't know if that's a higher level right than right to water or not.
Gotcha.
So, thanks.
Yep.
Yeah. So just to comment on that, water came first. Okay, so I think these are more comments or questions that none of us have the answer to, but I just jotted down a few things. So Craig, when you were talking about that, the governor has asked for the 15% voluntary reduction, which of course is on top of previous requests for reduction, and that we've actually seen increases in the last few months. There's in his hope that we can do that 15%. Of course, there's always the other side of that of we had no rain. So of course, people are going to use more water. So, I mean, we can only control like so much of this, and then nature gets to have their, piece of it. So, again, just a comment. I'm also thinking that if this turf, what is it, non-essential turf, or however it's called? Non-functioning turf. Okay, if that ends up becoming a thing, which it could easily, and you all probably know this, I'm preaching to the choir here, we're going to have a lot of folks asking about housing. Why are we still approving housing developments? And the state is telling us, we have to approve these housing developments or supply water to them, I should say, on our level. But somewhere there's a breaking point there. So, maybe that would just be a temporary issue, hopefully, because yes, we're praying for rain. So just to comment on that, because this is going to become very visible very fast if this turf thing goes into effect. So it'll be a very interesting time. And all the more reason why, Craig, what you have begun with the Solve the Water crisis is just imperative that that continues to take hold. And I think that, for me, that brings some hope. I know it's not a done deal. I know we're far from, getting more storage, but it's certainly off to a really good beginning and a good momentum. So in some ways, having the drought be this drastic is, I think, going to help push that. So just a comment. And I was curious about, I didn't realize that the Rubidoux agreement had not been. Okay. So I just wanted to know if that was just because of all the busyness of all the other Met issues. So anyway.
No. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay. All right. So I think that was it. I just, I was thinking, could we just bring back the people that presented and redo those so that we can go out with a really good feeling instead of this?
Right, we need to do a little reverse order, right? Jeez.
So thank you, Ryan. Appreciate all that information, even as serious as it is. We need to know that.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Of course.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. And I think to your point, Laura, it's absolutely problematic for us because the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing as far as the state is concerned with RENA and water supply. Because on one hand, RENA's got to go up because of housing and all of the mandates that are hitting all of the jurisdictions because of those. And then we're being tasked with, hey, but do it with a lot less water.
Yeah.
And those two do not jive. They do not. So it's going to be some very interesting conversations rolling into the future, for sure. Mr. Miller, anything else lovely, fabulous, and wonderful you need to share with us?
I just want to state that had nothing to do with my report. I still have my report,
Okay.
so that was Ryan's report.
Okay.
Mine's much more positive than that. Just come back. You can have a day. All right, so I've got several things, and actually, a couple of them are really good news. So we're going to pick it up. So you all have solved the water crisis. So the group is moving fast. The attendance is growing. We are producing materials so that people can hand these out and recruit. You'll be given a stack of these for Aqua, so you can hand them out.
Do we have this slide we can put up on, so?
No.
Okay.
But we will.
Okay.
I'm just giving this to you, so
Okay.
you know what's going on. Much more to come, but it is moving and it's moving fast. And I'm doing 5, 6, 8, 10 presentations a week to different groups on this. So actually, between this board meeting and our next board meeting, I'm talking with the state contractors about this. I met with San Diego Water Authority and their member agency managers meeting yesterday to talk about it. So it's moving. I don't know why anyone in the water business wouldn't be on board with this, because what we're really talking about is we have to educate that this is a water crisis, because there are a lot of people that are decision makers in this state that do not believe that and don't understand it. So the point of this whole effort is that we got to wake up and be realistic about water in the state. And so, anyway, a lot more to come. All right, good news. Sterling Pump Station, you've heard a lot about it. You were out there, you toured it. It passed its 7th-day acceptance test.
Woo! Yay! Okay.
It's taken 3/4 of a year to get the 7 days done, but we did it. So now there's still a bunch of punch list items and other things, but what we basically say, and I'll be careful how I say this, Derek, because the engineer in me is like, oh, don't say anything. But this is really good news. I want to thank the engineering team, Derek and his team. Man, this has been a lift for those guys to get through this with the contractor, and our ops team who has been there every day, and they're the ones that say, wait a minute, this isn't working right, that's not working right, what's this alarm? Because they're the ones that gets handed off to, and they have to operate it. So great work by them. We're not done yet, but that was a huge milestone to get through. So really good news.
Craig, just a real quick question on that. When we had the tour, there was some concern about whether there was adequate natural gas flow to operate the pumps on natural gas. Did that ever get resolved?
Yes. They wouldn't have passed the 7-day test without it.
Okay.
And I don't want to get into item by item because there's been 100
I'm sure there are
items
many
just
of them,
like that. But that was, we fixed that.
Okay, good, thank you.
We meaning the greater we on the project.
We got it.
Yeah. Leadership training. So the EMT did leadership training. We actually did it at the Desi House. So Director Roten had let us know about the Desi House, so we contacted Harupa, and they let us do that for free. So we went and used the Desi House. So I think we were kind of one of the guinea pigs to get out there and do it. So a couple of hiccups, but it's a beautiful facility. Go look at it. It's really a neat little area. And that was with Nate, as the board has their leadership training with Nate. The EMT is doing that also, and it's really valuable for our ability to function as a high-functioning team here at Western. Couple calendar items. Wake Up with Western. We've been advertising this forever. Sarah, do you want to give us your commercial on Wake Up with Western?
It'd be my pleasure, Craig. Members of the board, we hope you will join us this Saturday morning at 9 a.m. virtually. Staff have been working really hard behind the scenes to prepare an entire program for our customers and community. We'll really be highlighting, of course, the drought, the current conditions, as well as where water comes from and the value of the service we provide. It'll be packed full of tips for water use efficiency and really promoting a suite of new water use efficiency programs that are available and couldn't come at a better time given the requests that we have from our customers to step up their water use. So we hope you'll join us. There'll be some pre-recorded segments, a very kind of morning news show style, if you will, packed with commercials as well, along with a live opportunity for anyone joining us to ask their questions. We really want to be accessible, and this gives us an opportunity to do that from somebody's home without interrupting their day. Once it does air, we will be rebroadcasting it, so those that cannot join us will be able to rewatch these, and then we'll be able to reuse some of the segments to continue bringing awareness about drought and other resources that we have. So we hope to see you there on Saturday morning.
What does your expected attendance? Just because of Earth Day events, I can
Yes,
see that might be an issue.
That's a great question and great point that you made. It was intentionally planned to be in alignment with Earth Day. So far, we have our registration list, I believe, is exceeding 120. That's a really strong registration for Western, so we're hopeful that those that did register attend, and maybe we get a few more. In addition to being in the Zoom platform, we will be Facebook Living it as well, so those that follow Western can share it out, and they'll get those alerts at the same time.
Awesome.
Just a quick question on that. So I was a bit confused. So is it mainly geared for our retail customers, or anyone could benefit from this information?
Yeah, another really good question. The content is directed for our retail customers. However, anyone is welcome to join us, and I think anybody would benefit from the content. A lot of the programs we promote, like the rebates, are specific for retail, but all of our partner agencies are offering similar resources. And of course, if anybody was attending that wasn't a customer, we'd be happy to direct them to opportunities that can assist them. So anyone's welcome, and I think anyone can benefit from that information. Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Sarah. Last two things. If you read Villa Magazine, nice ad from Western in there, so want to point your attention to that.
Are you giving away the tickets to Disneyland? Is that us?
No, but I don't think they're allowing us to touch those, but. And then on the dais, you have the California Water Inland Empire edition. So we got a nice article in there too. So and that this is very much in alignment with Solve the Water Crisis. So we're staying on message. So just wanted to point those out to you. And that concludes my comments.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll go into directors' reports and requests at this time, starting off with SAPA.
Okay, SAPA met yesterday. They approved an audit contract for fiscal years 22, 23, and 24. They had to change auditors early because Tiemann, Ramirez, and Smith, who has been their auditing firm for a period of time, the partner who does the audits is retiring, so TRS is no longer going to do that sort of audit. And they have contracted with FEDAC and Brown, and they also authorized staff to send a support letter for a resolution at the federal level supporting PFAS legislation that protects ratepayers and wastewater users. Should it pass, the resolution would provide protection for water agency and wastewater agencies from being responsible for things like PFAS that get into their systems when they didn't put it there. So it's important.
Is that the one we discussed supporting, the resolution? Or it's a different one?
No, this is new.
Different one.
This is new.
Okay. Right?
That's it?
Okay. Metropolitan. Oh, where to begin? Oh, where to begin? Monday's committee meetings started at 9 o'clock, and we finished just after 6 p.m. A lot of budget discussion, a lot of back and forth, a lot of dialogue that happened at the committee level. Tuesday's day started at 8 a.m. and finished just prior to 4:30 in the afternoon. And there was a lot going on. The Water Stewardship and Planning Committee met and had a 2.5-hour block, and they exceeded that. That's where the Rubidoux discussion took place. Unfortunately, due to Metropolitan's rules and Government Code 1090, I was prohibited from participating in that discussion.
What is Government Code 1090?
Because we were the ones that were subject to the contract as Western, and it was coming, I was not allowed to participate in the discussion for them to approve that contract to enter in. So I had to sit there with my head getting ready to blow off. The The discussion took a very bad turn. I think there was some very diluted discussion that took place. I don't think that there was enough clarity perhaps given in a staff report as to what the benefit was for this. Ultimately, what it came down to, because it was discussed at committee and then it went to the full board, and I couldn't participate in either one of those discussions, the board authorized a one-year agreement, which obviously does not help our partnership with Rubidoux, because why would you on earth want to spend a capital improvement that's $750,000 for a year? And if Western were to go ahead and embark on this venture, we would have to charge the Rubidoux customers somewhere around $7 million to build a pipeline that we wouldn't have to get any approval from Met in order to do the servicing of the water. But again, makes no sense whatsoever for Rubidoux customers to pay for that type of connection on the economic side. So hopefully there is going to be some further discussion to bring this item back, to have discussions at the staff level, and we can have a little bit more interaction leading into that discussion, as I'm not allowed to participate and say all of the things that I was dying to say and wanted to jump out of my seat to say. So I was very disappointed with this action that took place up at Met. I think people knew that. And hopefully we'll be able to bring this back in a relatively expeditious manner to readdress it. The budget did in fact get approved. That was a huge discussion. The Finance Committee ended up ultimately taking 3 votes for 3 different motions, and none of them passed. None of them got a sufficiency of the Finance Committee. I supported one of the motions. That didn't pass. So it went to the board without a recommendation from the Finance Committee. And ultimately, what was given to us is the forecast of the 5 and 5 on their 10-year rolling forecast was ultimately approved, but there are additional cuts to the budget that need to happen in order for that to take place. So we're kind of waiting to see where those cuts are going to come from, if it's going to come from CIP, if it's going to, who knows? That was given to the discretion of the general manager to bring back at a later time to have more discussions over the appropriateness of that. And really what it comes down to, folks, is look, here's the pure economics of it. You've got fixed cost and fixed debt service, and you've got water deliveries that are at a certain level that continue to decline because we're asking the population to conserve. So at some point, these numbers just don't align anymore, and the discussion needs to happen and take place of what is going to change for these drivers. And so fundamentally, there just has to be a discussion of how are we going to move forward on this? But nonetheless, this budget agreement was passed, and it's huge dollars, and we look forward to hearing some of the other things that are going to come out of this and what they're going to do to make these numbers match for the 5%. The good news is that this is actually what we forecasted in our budget moving forward, so we don't have to do any changes to our customers for the next 2 years, which just puts a smile on Kevin's face.
We may need to talk about the readiness to surcharge in the second year.
Yes.
A very large lead in all this budget.
Yes. So there are some things that will be in addition to hammer out as far as that concerned, and we'll continue to fight the good fight. I look forward to having a meeting with the finance director at Metropolitan and talk to her some more about the makeup of the budget and the direction that it's going in, and have some fundamental discussions. So 2 very, very long days. I think those are the big ticket items that really hit home with us. So And of course, water deliveries and the concerns that we have moving forward at the allocation of 5% and those discussions that are going to take place. And then we'll have the special board meeting here at the end of the month, which will talk about all kinds of things. And staff and I from Western are continuing to have discussions about things that we are concerned about and that I need to bring up. So there are going to be some topics that are going to be brought forward to some committees, and there's going to be just some discussion that's going to be had. So just looking forward to all of that. Any questions?
I did have one, and it left my mind. I pushed my mic on, and it was like, are these meetings recorded that
Yes.
anyone would be able to go
Yes.
back and listen to the discussions
Yes, and you're
on any particular
and you're
topic?
welcome to hear all the hours that goes.
Well,
Laura.
no, I know, but there's a particular area
Yes.
I'd like to hear. Okay.
Yes, they are. So you're welcome to go.
If you can binge Netflix, you can binge Metropolitan.
Oh, my
There you
goodness,
go.
and good luck with that. So, right? Okay, so moving right along, we'll go on to Chino Basin.
Okay, the Water Master meets next week. They are beginning their budget process, had a workshop yesterday. They have another one scheduled coming up. Their budget doesn't have a huge impact on Western, but it is, of course, important to them. And there are some disagreements amongst members as to how much money ought to get spent on some things and whose money it should be. Most of the money that flows into Chino Basin Water Master flows from the appropriators because they're the ones who sell the water. And some of them don't want to spend, as they phrase it, their ratepayers' money on things that may not be necessary. Water Master in turn argues that they are necessary and appropriate for planning purposes and the long-term function of the basin. So that will work its way out at some point. There is a court hearing Friday this week. There are 3 pools in Water Master. There's an agricultural pool, there's the appropriative pool, which is all the water agencies, and then there is, they call it the non-ag pool. It's basically industry that has water rights. There is a fairly long-standing and intense disagreement between the appropriative pool and the agricultural pool about who has to pay some legal fees. The 2 pools voted recently independently to settle the issue, and they actually filed papers with the court withdrawing their lawsuit between themselves. Some members of the appropriative pool have now said, well, the pool can't control us, and so we are challenging whether a settlement was actually reached. That is part of what will be argued on Friday. And I think it's significant because it puts a pool in somewhat the same situation we would be in if we voted 4-1 or 3-2 to do something, and whoever was on the short end then went out and fought against what our board had decided to do. So the real question is, do the pools have authority to take an action that is not unanimously supported by their membership? And we'll see what the court has to say, but it's an important argument for the future function of the Chino Basin Water Master. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. CDA.
Thank you for that. You're a really good teacher, Mike. So thank you. So Chino Basin DeSalter had their meeting 2 weeks ago. We approved a contract for RO services and sodium hydrochlorite storage tanks. There was a change order for PFAS and PFOA sampling. We adopted the the desalter authorities revised reverse policy, and then we had significant discussion on the reconciliation of allocation of costs and analysis of unrestricted reserve. We discussed, where the surplus should go, and we agreed to bring it back to the next meeting for further discussion. So that was our meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
An easy one.
Rikra.
We meet next week.
Next week? Okay. WRCOG, will be next meeting, so we had no meeting this time. And moving on to SARA.
So we met last week. There was a discussion on the TDS, total dissolved solids, at the Santa Rosa Water Reclamation Facility. The plant has been exceeding its permitted TDS level of 750. The staff reported that the source water is the cause with the imported water mix, so from the Colorado River. So Michael Welch did a presentation of what is the cause, and we've heard the presentation. It was really an eye-opener, but there's no action required. There's no penalty right now, just corrective actions that staff is already taking care of. So the next item was the review of the CIP plan and non-operating budget for 5 years. The first year CIP total budget is $1,878,500, and the total of 5 years is going to be $8,174,000. There was a presentation about the projects, of what projects coming, and there's a large additions that proposed projects that's going to be later in the year. One of them is a tertiary process at SORA. Western doesn't own any recycled capacity, so we will not be affected by that. So there was not an action item, that was a presentation. It's going to come back to us next meeting, next month. Okay. And then there was a review of the operating and non-operating budget, while overall operating expenses were up for Western from 7.7 to 10%. This is due to a staff increase in flows for the next year versus this year. So there was a presentation, but everything was normal, and SORA is tracking well against the budget. We are $229,071 favorable for this year, so everything was good.
Okay.
That's my presentation.
Great, thank you. Okay, any director's comments? I will start to my left. Director Rizvi, any director comments today?
No, thank you, I'm good.
Okay, Director Routen.
Just one quick one. When I was at Good Morning Riverside, I think it was last week, they mentioned that the May meeting is being sponsored by Western. So that was exciting, and I don't know who gives that presentation. They get time that morning. I'm assuming it's Craig maybe, or Tim?
Well, it
Or
depends on when it is,
Sarah?
because every year it conflicts with Aqua. So, and every year we've asked to sponsor a
Oh.
different meeting.
Yeah, it won't.
So
Because
I,
it's the second Thursday.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
No,
we're good.
we need to plan that out for you.
All right. Awesome. That's it.
Okay, great, thank you. Director Gardner, any comments today?
No.
Okay, Director Torres.
No comment, nothing to ask for, but just want to wish everyone a happy Earth Day this Friday. It's Earth Day that kind of gets us understanding why we're here. And then before our next meeting, we won't get a chance, but I wanted to wish everyone a blessed Eid as the month of Ramadan ends. And so that's it, that's all and see you all at Aqua.
Okay. And I just had a couple of comments. One, I was invited to speak at the women's group at Metropolitan, so that was really a nice event, and got to hear more about two other new directors that have joined, Director Fong Sakai, who is from San Diego Water Authority, and Director Sutley from Los Angeles, those delegations. So it was really nice to speak with those groups. There were about 140 people on that Zoom call. And so it was really nice. Chairwoman Gray also was there, and it was really nice to hear some of her words of inspiration as well. So I really look forward to continuing to work with that group of distinguished ladies. As a reminder, we are looking for continued leadership training dates with Nate and with Mar. So I think staff is currently working on getting something worked up. So any board members, if you have a particular item of discussion that you feel is something that you would like to bring forward to our leadership training opportunity group, you could certainly present those to me. You could certainly present those to Mr. Miller, or you can certainly forward them to the board secretary for consideration as we look forward to putting those agendas rolling through the rest of our calendar for the year for leadership training opportunities. And then as a reminder, folks, our next meeting has been canceled for May 4th, I believe it was, because everybody will be gone to Aqua. So our meeting after that will be the following meeting in May, which will be Wednesday, May the 18th at 9:30, our usual time. So just in case you want to tune in, we won't be here for the 4th, but we will be here for the 18th. And I just wanted to confirm with legal counsel, sir, we have a special board meeting that is scheduled at 1 o'clock today, so I am under the impression I need to adjourn this meeting and then reconvene for our special meeting at 1 o'clock today, which will be also available to our Zoom audience should they choose to participate in that special board meeting where we'll have a discussion about our agency branding. So, is that correct?
That is correct, Madam President.
Just wanted to make sure I was covering all the rules. Okay. Last item on our agenda today is request for any future agenda items for anything. Any board member have anything that they'd like to bring forward at this time?
Yeah, Madam President, I do. As you all know, SOPA is looking at trying to do a weather modification cloud seeding demonstration project. It's anticipated to be a 4-year project. I would like to get a presentation on that to our board because if it goes forward, we're going to be asked to make a 4-year funding commitment.
Mm-hmm.
It's not huge dollars, but it is dollars that we don't have tabbed for that at this point. It's a little bit controversial, but in light of our drought issues, if we can squeeze a little bit more water out of some clouds, it will be helpful. And so I would like to try to get that scheduled in. Craig, if you or the appropriate people on your staff would work with SOPA to schedule something, I would appreciate it. And do it at a time that works best for you. I'm not asking for a particular date. There is some hope that we can get that program, if it's going to go forward, get it up and running for this fall. So there's a little bit of urgency as a result of that.
And it has been brought back. It has been addressed here at this board at least once before for some level of discussion. So it's probably a good idea if you guys are moving through the process to continue to bring that forward, because I know it's probably going to go to all of the member agencies.
It was at Valley District last week.
Yeah.
So when we can do it, I think it would be beneficial and educational.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Seeing nothing else pending, we will go ahead and call, and I have no closed session today, is that correct? I'm correct on that? Okay. We'll go ahead and call the meeting adjourned, and we will look forward to seeing you at the 1 o'clock hour for our special board meeting that will be convened at that time. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today.